If you saw this woman right here, how would you approach her? What would you say? How would you keep the conversation interesting? Today, I'm going to show you an easy method to ensure that you know how to approach women, how to say hello, how to start the conversation, but all in a kind and respectful manner. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Payam, and if you're new to the channel, I create content for socially awkward men to connect with more people and find a meaningful relationship. Yeah, listen, if you're looking for pickup artist advice, there's no judgment here, but I'm not the guy for you. I'm here to help awkward guys that are dealing with self-esteem issues, guys that want to grow their confidence, guys that are dealing with a lot of anxiety. They want to find more friends. They want to find a genuine partner. If that sounds like you, I am the guy for you. And we're going to go over 5 different scenarios. Here's the first scenario. You go to a coffee shop and you see this girl working on the computer. What would you do? Okay, so let me walk through my process, my thought process when I see a scenario like this and I see someone that I want to talk to. Now, let's also imagine that there is an open table next to her. So we want to sit at that open table. So what if we just said, "Excuse me, is that table next to you open?" And we pause and we wait. Nothing wrong with that, right? That's not rude. That's not a harmful thing to say. This is what I call a warm-up line. All right, we're gauging the temperature of the human being, right? Where are they? Do we know if she's busy? We don't know that. We could assume that, and many of you do assume, and this is the problem. She also could be scrolling Facebook. She also could be just browsing the news. We don't know. So it's wrong to assume that someone is busy if we do not know it for a fact. And this is where a lot of guys that I work with get hung up. They get hung up on this. Because many of you that do code or engineers, you work in a very logical industry, right? You're dealing with logic all day long. I used to code for 5 years, so I know what it's like. The problem is you think that you're going to carry over this logic into the world of relationships and human-to-human interactions, and that is your mistake. Because logic can only carry you so far. So we don't want to be too logical here. We don't know if she's busy. We just don't know. And we're just asking if the table next to her is free. A lot of times when we need to assess whether we are being too logical is to ask. Whether we are being too logical is to ask, would I approach her and say hello if this was a guy? Assuming you're heterosexual, which many of you, if not all of you, are. If this was a guy and you're straight and you just want to ask, "Hey, bro, is this table next to you open? Is there anything wrong with that?" No. And this is a good filter to know if you're making excuses for not starting a conversation or there is some legitimate concern. So we ask ourselves, well, would I not say hello? Would I not start a conversation if this was a guy? Of course I would, because I just want to know if the table's free. Okay, does that make sense? I hope I explained that clearly. The point that I'm making is that we want to challenge our assumptions about when someone is busy or not. Okay, many times guys make this mistake. And frankly, 99% of the time they're excuses. Okay, we're just asking, is the table next to you free? Right? And from there, we can gauge whether she's really busy based off how short her reply is. We can gauge even if she's maybe attracted to us, if she smiles, or if she asks us a question. But the point is that when you want to start a conversation, when you want to approach, you use the warm-up line. In this scenario, which is probably the easiest of all 5 scenarios that we're going to go over, we have the luxury of there being an open table. So just asking, is that table next to you free, is a very natural question to ask. And from there, we can gauge her response, and then we can proceed accordingly. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So let me know for this first scenario, if you disagree, agree, have another alternative solution. Again, this is not about getting the number. We're not talking about any of that right now. We're talking about approaching, starting the conversation. Okay? Let's go on to the second image. All right, let's look at scenario number 2. You see a girl, she's in a library, a bookstore, whatever, and it looks like she's putting a book away on the shelf. What would you do? What would you say? Now, a lot of times guys, they, again, assume that someone's busy, that they don't want to be bothered. I'm calling you out because that's a bullshit excuse. It is. You don't know if someone's bothered. You don't know if, I apologize. You don't know if someone's busy. You don't know. So we need to challenge these assumptions at all times. Is this fact or is this feeling? Fact or feeling? This is feeling. You don't know. Did you ask? Did you ask her if she's busy? No. So you don't know. All right. In this case, personally, I would just say something like, oh, so the book was that boring, huh? Kind of funny. It's light. She's putting a book away on the shelf. She's putting it back. I caught her putting the book back on the shelf, and I'm like, oh, is that boring, huh? It's light. It's easy. You contrast that with, hello, how you doing? It's typical. It's boring. It's routine. She's used to it. This is light. You want to be light in your conversations, and that's the point for this second scenario. You don't want to be too serious, right? In scenario 1, we just asked if there was an open table, no harm, no foul. In second scenario here, we see a girl, she's at a library or bookstore, and we're just being friendly. Oh, so the book was that boring, huh? Based on her response, using the warm-up line, we can assess whether she's interested, busy, maybe she has a wedding ring, maybe her boyfriend comes from around the corner. It doesn't matter. We are not putting ourselves in a situation to be rejected because we're not doing anything wrong. We're not even asking them out. We're just making a friendly comment, okay? And that's key. You want to comment on things around you guys. In the first scenario, we commented on the table next to the girl, right? In this second scenario, we're commenting on the fact that she's putting a book back on the shelf. Make sense? Hey, by the way, before we go to scenario number 3, if you're enjoying this style of advice, this content that I'm presenting in this roleplay fashion, please let me know in the comments and give this video a thumbs up so I know that it's resonating. Or if you're just finding my style of advice and content helpful in general, I'd really appreciate it. It helps me out. It helps me know that this is valuable for you. Okay? I appreciate it. Let's go to scenario number 3. A girl is working at a coffee shop. What would you do? All right, in this scenario, she could be busy. So let's assume that she is because she's working, right? So we don't want to take too much of her time. We don't want to say anything that takes her away from her work. So in this type of scenario, again, we're going to use a warm-up line here. We give a compliment, right? So I'd probably say something like, hey, I really like your gold beanie. That's it. Or, hey, I really like your beanie. We'll figure out where we stand with them once they reply. And that's the beauty of this technique. We are putting ourselves in a situation to not be rejected. And by the way, rejection isn't real. I'm going to post more content about this because a lot of you think rejection is real. It's not real. But for the sake of this video, let's assume that it is real. We're putting ourselves in a situation where we're not there's no chance of us being rejected because we didn't ask for anything. We're just making a comment around something around us. We are using the warm-up line, just a line to gauge the conversation. We're not taking them away from anything. And in this scenario, we're giving a compliment. Who doesn't love a compliment, right? We're saying, hey, nice beanie. When she replies, we'll go from there. Again, this video is not about that. This video is about how to start the conversation. I'm going to make another video on how to continue the conversation later. Let me know in the comments if you want that, so I know that that would be helpful in this type of format, okay? Does that make sense? All right, let me know in the comments if you like the answer for this scenario 3, if you have another alternative. Let's go to scenario 4. As you can tell, I love to read. So these are all scenarios that are books related. But let's pretend we're at a bookstore again, or at a Barnes and Noble, or whatever bookstore is, wherever the hell you live, okay? And we see this girl, and she is reading on the couch, and you see her. What would you say? How would you approach her? Let's think about what we've talked about so far. We want to gauge the temperature using the warm-up line. We want to comment around something around us, right? And we want to just be mindful of that. And remember, we're not putting ourselves in a situation to be rejected. We're just making a comment, and we're seeing from there what the reply is. So in a scenario like this is where I encourage you to really leverage your personality. And if you're kind of a shy guy and if you're kind of a reserved guy, I would suggest just turning that up 10%, okay? Because in a scenario like this, what do you notice from this scenario? It's a beautiful background. It's a beautiful backdrop, right? Look at the composition, the pillows on both sides of her, the nice style of the hat. You could say something like, hey, I really like your hat, but I'm not going to use that one for this one. I'm going to give you another one. So in a scenario like this, where when you see her and my first thought when I saw this image, when I was looking for images, was, damn, look at this photo. Look how nicely composed it is. So why not just say that? So in a scenario like this, I see her, as I'm walking up to her, I'd be like, hold on a second. This is a very well composed situation we got right here. Look at you sitting on the couch reading this book. This is a photogenic moment for you, right? It's a compliment. It's kind of funny. It's friendly. It's kind. Yes, we may interrupt her reading. We may interrupt her. And maybe she's a little bit bothered by that. But we don't know that for a fact, right? Maybe she's lonely. Maybe she's been at home for the last 2 weeks and this is her first time out and she came out because she wants you to approach her. Since you want to assume that she's busy, I'm going to assume that she's lonely. You see how we can both play this game? This is why it's wise to not assume someone's busy. Yes, sometimes you're going to interrupt people and sometimes they're not going to like it. You know what? I get people that come to my door, they interrupt me. I don't like it. It is what it is, all right? But we remove a lot of the problems because we're not asking for anything, so there's no rejection, right? And we're giving her a compliment. Most people are going to be very receptive to you interrupting them if you give them a compliment, okay? So we just go up to her and like, wow, this is a beautiful view right here. The bookstore, the backdrop, the pillows, you sitting here with the hat. This is beautiful. I just wanted to let you know that. That's it. And she'll say, oh, wow, thank you, or I appreciate that. Thank you, that's very kind of you. She'll probably laugh. My intuition is telling me she'll probably laugh, and she'll probably say thank you. And then you go from there. Okay, again, we're not covering that. We're talking about the first conversation, the first blurb, the first words that come out of your mouth. Okay? So that's what I would do in this scenario. Now let's go to the final scenario, scenario number 5. So we see this girl, maybe she's traveling in the city that we live in. I'm assuming she's reading a travel guidebook. I think that's what it looks like from here. And yeah, we see her reading some directions. Even if it's not directions, let's just say it's directions for the variety here, for the variety of scenarios here. So she's reading a travel booklet. What would you do? Remember what we've talked about. We're not asking for anything. No rejection. Warm up line. Gauge the temperature. Comment around something about you guys. Something around you guys. So in a scenario like this, I'd probably just say, do you need help finding something? That's it. Simple. We see her reading something. We're being kind. We're being respectful. We're not harming her in any way. We're not saying anything rude. We're not being disrespectful. And based off what she says, we will then know how to continue the conversation, okay? But the idea here is that we're just offering help. Who doesn't want to be helped? Is it bad to help people? No. So challenge your assumptions with these questions. It's not bad to help people. If this was a guy and you just want to help the guy, is there anything wrong with saying, hey, bro, do you need help finding a monument, a museum? What are you looking for? Can I help you find? What's wrong with that? Nothing. So if you find yourself hesitating, question and challenge why you are doing that. Because more than likely, you're making excuses. All right, now I'm not trying to get on you, but this is a video about self-improvement, about improving your confidence. And the way you do that is you got to put yourself in these scenarios where Maybe you're slightly out of your comfort zone, right? I'm not asking you to go get the number, right? We're gradually building our confidence through these interactions. And what you'll find is that when you do this over and over again, and when you challenge yourself with some of these beliefs you have, you'll find that many of them, you don't even know why you have them, okay? So we ask, hey, is there something I can help you find? And we leave it. All right, so those are the 5 scenarios. If you found this style of advice helpful, please give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments, how can I make these better for you? Should I create a quiz? Would that be helpful? Should I give you a direct assignment? Should I just do more of these? Please let me know. I want to create content that's helpful for you. So this is your chance, all right? So let me know that. And if you want a 1-page cheat sheet on how to approach women and say hello in a kind and respectful way, I have a 1-page cheat sheet for you. Check the link in the description to get it. If you want to know how to go from small talk to big talk in social scenarios, which is a problem for a lot of guys, check out this video, all right? I break it down in a very detailed flowchart. I think you're gonna like it. If you like this video, you'll probably like that video, all right? Thanks again. I will see you guys in the next video, and thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.